3 horrifying true stories of creepy neighbors who watched too closely. It started with the sound of someone tapping on my bedroom wall at night. At first I thought it was just the pipes creaking or maybe mice in the walls, but it always happened when the house was quietest, right as I was about to fall asleep. I lived in a small 2-story apartment building just outside the city. My unit was on the top floor, and the wall that separated my bedroom from the next apartment was thin enough that I sometimes heard muffled conversations or a TV playing late at night. But the tapping wasn't random. It came in short, steady bursts. Tap, 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 as if someone was deliberately trying to get my attention. The neighbor on the other side of that wall was a man I had only spoken to once when I moved in. He was maybe mid-40s, pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He introduced himself as Mark, and barely made eye contact. He never seemed to leave his apartment, and when I did hear him, it was usually the sound of his footsteps pacing back and forth. For the first week, I brushed off the tapping as nothing. But one night, it grew louder. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard it again. Tap, 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 directly against the wall near my headboard. I froze. Then came 3 slower, heavier knocks, like someone pressing their fist into the wall right where I was resting. I shifted my bed a few inches away from the wall, trying to ignore it. But when I turned off the lamp, I had this prickling sensation that I was being watched. The next day, I decided to run into Mark in the hall and casually bring it up. But when I knocked on his door, no one answered. I even pressed my ear against the wood, expecting to hear a TV or shuffling inside. But it was dead silent. That night, the tapping came back. Only this time, there was a new sound, a faint scraping like fingernails dragging slowly across the drywall. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed my pillow and blanket and slept on the couch, telling myself it was nothing. A few days later, I got home from work to find a note slipped under my door. It wasn't signed, and the handwriting was shaky, almost childlike. It read, "Why do you move your bed? I liked when you slept closer." My stomach dropped. I had never told anyone I moved my bed. I tore the note up and shoved it in the trash, but that night I barely slept. Every sound in the apartment made me jump. I started noticing little things out of place. My mail was opened once before it reached me. A pair of my shoes left by the door were turned around, facing inward instead of out. And twice, I swore I heard my front doorknob jiggle softly in the middle of the night. I told myself I was being paranoid until one evening when I was watching TV in the living room. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught movement through the narrow slit of my blinds. Someone was standing in the hallway outside, their face tilted toward my window. I shot up and yanked the blinds open, but the hall was empty. Still, the chill in my chest told me exactly who it was. The final straw came a week later. I had dozed off on the couch around midnight. I woke to the sound of footsteps above me, but I lived on the top floor. I held my breath, straining to listen, and then heard the faint creak of my front door. My stomach dropped. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, an umbrella, and stood frozen in the dark. For a moment, silence. Then slowly, the sound of someone's breathing from the direction of the hallway. Shallow, deliberate breaths. I flicked on the light and shouted, "Who's there?" Nothing. No movement. I forced myself to step closer to the hall, umbrella raised. It was empty. The door was still locked, the chain in place. But as I turned back toward the living room, something caught my eye. The vent on the wall, just a few feet from my couch, was slightly ajar. Inside, in the darkness, I saw the faintest glint of an eye. Wide, unblinking, staring directly at me. I stumbled backward, my throat dry, and the vent cover rattled shut. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even sit down. I just stood by the door, umbrella still in my grip, waiting for daylight. The next morning, I packed a bag and left. I didn't even wait for the lease to end. I just couldn't stay another night. When I went to the office to explain, the landlord gave me a look I'll never forget. "You're not the first tenant to break their lease over him," he said quietly, "but we can't prove anything." I moved out the same day. I don't know what he saw or how long he'd been watching, but sometimes when I'm lying in bed in my new place, I swear I hear it again. Tap, 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 like someone reminding me they're still out there. And the worst part? I never once saw him leave his apartment, not once.
The Blackout.